Well, welcome to the first of our webinars on how to understand your RealCare baby and how to get the most out of the program. Today we're going to be looking at the baby basics section, and we'll be looking at how to program your baby and so on. During the course of the webinar, I'm going to be swapping backwards and forwards to the different things on my computer to show you. So this is how I'm going to swap into our presentation notes. So here we are. We're going to look at the first thing we're going to look at is the baby, introduction to the baby and its bits. How to charge the baby well and correctly, how to add the baby to your control center software, how to run a baby demonstration in your classroom so that the students can see how it operates and gets a good understanding of how to work the baby before they take the baby home, and then how to program the baby with the control center software. Okay, so let's first of all look at the different items that came with your baby. So here's our baby that we're using today for our demonstration. This is an African American baby. This baby is a RealCare Baby 3. This tutorial is relevant to the RealCare Baby 3 and the RealCare Baby 2 Plus. So today we're going to be showing you our RealCare Baby 3 and the items that come with it. Now this is a life-size baby, an infant simulator. Best if you always call it the baby as opposed to the doll or the dolly or treating it more like a toy. If you call it the baby or the school's baby or our baby, students are more likely to buy into the fact that they're looking after an expensive piece of equipment and are less likely to minimize it if you call it a doll or dolly. Okay, so this is an African American female. The baby here comes with one set of clothing, okay, and the initial set of clothing that you've got on it, and then it comes with 2 nappies. Now the baby has 2 nappies. One nappy has a green patch on it and a sensor in it, and the second baby has the second nappy has a yellow sensor in it. Now, if you had the baby with a yellow sensor on it when you start the program, when the baby starts to require a nappy change, you need to take the yellow nappy off and put the green nappy on and keep circulating those around. Now, you need to keep circulating those around. Now, the thing with the nappies is the baby doesn't expel any liquids. It's just the fact that it's got these 2 sensors. If it's got the green nappy on, then you swap it out with the yellow nappy. Yeah, one trick when you're changing the nappies for the students, if they're changing the nappies, the baby has a sensor in its neck, and the head knows when the head goes forwards and backwards. And if it goes forwards or it goes right back, the baby will scream and record a head support event. So one of the things that can cause a head support event is if they're changing the nappy and they go to lift the baby up to put the new nappy underneath, that can force the baby onto its sensor and can make the baby cry. So students can start to get more than their fair share of head supports and a distressed baby if they're not careful of how they're lifting it up. If they lift it up too high like that, that's going to set that sensor off. So just one of the things to let your students know when they're changing nappies. Okay, so this is the baby. We've got the 2 nappies. They come with a pair of IDs. Now, if you've bought a baby basic, you get 1 ID. If you've bought the total control pack that is the non-basic one, then you get 2 of these. Now, the reason there's 2 is you can put one on your student's wrist and have that on the student's wrist, and they need to look after the baby. They'll need this ID to look after the baby. If you've got the more expensive pack, then you've got the 2, so one can go home and be for the student's parents. And you can tell how often the student's parents have looked after the baby and how often your student has looked after the baby. The ID, they're programmed into the baby. When you first get your baby, there's no IDs programmed into it. These IDs have to be programmed into the baby via the control center software, and I'll show you how to do that shortly. The IDs are important. What happens is when the baby starts to cry, the student will pick their baby up and then they have to hold their ID, which is on their wrist. The reason it's on their wrist is because it's attached by one of these tamper-proof wristbands, and they can only be removed by cutting or breaking them. If they come back with that cut or broken from their wrist, then you know that they've given that ID to somebody else and they haven't looked after that baby all by themselves. They've cheated in essence. So this would normally be on my wrist, and when the baby starts to cry, the student picks the baby up and they just hold that ID on the baby's back, just like that. So right on that spot near the baby's bottom, just hold it on there and the baby will chime. It'll give a chime and then they can work out what the baby needs, whether it needs burping or rocking or feeding or changing its nappy. To feed the baby, we have a bottle that comes with the baby, and it's just a matter of them holding the bottle to the baby's lips, like that. Okay, now there's also a breastfeeding device, which I don't have with me. It's just a device that attaches to the student's shirt. You'll see that in your package, and they just hold the baby up to the device like that. Okay, so this is the not a basic baby, and being the RealCare more advanced baby and the more expensive of our offering, you get all these clothing. Now the clothing comes with these sensors in them, and the baby knows when the clothing is on the baby, which clothing is on at a particular time. It has a temperature sensor inside, and it can tell you what temperature the baby was in and also what clothing it was wearing. So 3 sets, a total of 4 sets of clothing, all with sensors in them. If you've got the baby basic, then you only have the 1 set of clothing and you don't have the temperature sensitive option. The other thing that comes with the baby is the X-Stick. This green device here, it comes in this pouch, okay, and with the key to the back of the baby where you can open up the back of the baby. Okay, now that plugs into the USB device of your computer, and we'll talk about that later when we talk about the control center software. Really essential that you have this. The baby won't talk to the computer if you don't have this plugged in. So you plug this into your computer, you give it a little time for the drivers to settle in, and then you open up your control center software, and this will talk to your baby and to your computer. So the X-Stick is important, and we'll cover that a little bit further down in the information. Okay. Now, also the baby comes with a charger. Now, this is a single baby charger, not like a mobile phone charger. Plug it into the wall, then plug it into the back of your baby here. We'll talk about charging very shortly. If you had like 5 or more babies, you may have got a 5 baby charging station. That's an orange pod type device that plugs into the wall, and then there's 5 leads that come off it. Similar thing, just plug this into the wall and into your baby, and with the 5 baby charging station, just get one of the leads that's coming out of that orange pod and plug into the back of your baby. Okay, we're going to look at the download area now and where the curriculum and the control center software is kept. Now, when you received your baby, you will have received a sheet and possibly an email that had a link. And what we're going to do now is just go into that area. We're going to look now, we've looked at the baby and the IDs, the bottle and the breastfeeding device, the clothing and the charger, and the X-Stick. We're going to look at the instructor's key. Now we're going to look at the download area and the curriculum and the control center software. Okay, now with the download area, so if you go into your browser and go to tinyurl.com/RealCare3. So tinyurl.com/RealCare3, hit enter, and you'll come into a password protected area. And in that password protected area, a password is RealCare3, all lowercase, RealCare3, enter. Okay. And in front of us here now, we have the download area and the baby resources. Here we have the curriculum area. So if you click into that, you can download a curriculum zip file that has 3 sets of curriculum with it. It's quite a large file, 262 megabytes. Won't take long to download if you're in a good area with internet. And that's well worth getting into. It's lots of PDFs, and you can look at all the different information that comes with the supporting curriculum for the baby. Here we have the Control Center Help document, and really recommend that you download that now and have a copy of that printed off. In the download area, you can go to the RealCare curriculum. By double-clicking on this, you can download, so you want to download the curriculum. So we've double clicked on the curriculum and it's expanding it, taking it from the zip file into revealing all the files that are in the curriculum. Once you've opened the folder that has the curriculum in it, you go down to the menu HTML, click on that, and that will open up the curriculum menu. So here's the curriculum menu. You can go into Basic Infant Care curriculum. There's all the information right through. You can download all the sheets, look at the student materials, look at the presentation slides, and you can see we've got Basic Infant Care, Healthy Choices, and the Parenting curriculum. So if you click on the Parenting curriculum, there again, you've got the complete curriculum you can go to, the introduction, and then all the different modules that are in those lessons. So you can see there is lesson 12 lessons there in the curriculum, and I think you'll find in each of them there's around 12. So we'll go to the Basic Infant Care, and again we're down to, there's Unit 4, 4.1. So that's how you access the curriculum. Now we're going to talk about the Control Center software. This is the software that operates your baby. The Control Center software talks to the green X stick, which we showed you earlier. You have this X stick plugged into your computer. And then once this is plugged in, you open the Control Center software. So we'll do that now. We'll open the Control Center software. First thing that happens is when you open the Control Center software, there's a little screen that comes up and it says looking for the wireless adapter. It's looking for this USB device. Once it's found that, the Control Center software opens. And I'll just share my screen here so we can see it. Share the screen. Okay, here's the Control Center software. Right, now we'll just quickly go through the components. One of the things that I want you to be aware of is if ever you need the, I showed you in the download area where you can get the instructor's manual and the Control Center software help guide. So you can get that from our download area, but you can also get it from the Control Center software. And I'll explain how. So if you go to, you can see the whole screen here. Up the top, we've got the RealCare Control Center, File, Edit, and Help. If you click on Help and go to Help, it takes you to a new page. And it shows you the Baby Control Center Help, and here you can download a copy anytime you want from the Control Center software. So if you ever get to a point where you can't find or don't know where the software, the software help guide is, then just go to that help section from the Control Center software. So I'll just recap that to give you a quick look. So we go to the Control Center software. Go to the Control Center software, up in the menu up the top, you go to File, Edit, across to Help, and down to Help, and that's where you can download the Control Center software help guide. Okay, so let's have a look at the screen. So we're now looking at the Control Center software. You can see here we've got babies. On the left-hand side, we've got all available, active, and report due. You can see that in the All section, okay? If you've got 3 babies, you'll have all. And some of them might be active, so you'll have 1 or 2 inactive. That means they've been programmed and they're going out for a simulation, or they're in simulation mode. If they haven't been programmed, they'll remain in the available column. I'm going to click on the available section here. We've got available babies, and you can see here we've got our baby girl, which is our African-American girl. You can see that we've got the battery indicators here, so she's nearly full. She's got 4 indicators out of the 5. What you need to look for in the Control Center software is 2 things. The first thing is that the green pod down here on the bottom right-hand corner, that green pod tells me that the X stick is plugged in and working. If that is red, then your X stick is not talking to the software. This green tick in the COM column over here, this green tick in the COM column, that shows me that the baby is talking to the X stick. So if you've got the green tick, that means the baby is talking to the X stick, and the green pod means the X stick's talking to the computer. So that's the complete loop. You need to have the green tick and the green pod for you to know where it's working, whether the baby's working correctly through the software. Okay, So now we've gone through a quick look at the software and a quick look at all the gear that comes with the baby. Now we're going to have a quick look at charging the baby. Okay, so this is how we work out how the baby gets charged correctly. So with the baby, if you pull up the shirt at the back of the baby, you'll notice that there are 3 lights at the back of the baby. I'm just going to hold this here so I can see. Okay, on the top is a red light, then we've got the green light in the middle and the yellow light at the bottom. If you look long enough, you'll see the yellow light flash every couple of seconds. There it goes. And that light has nothing to do with the charging. That light is all about the wireless connection to the X-stick and to the computer. So that yellow light will flash about every 20 seconds or so, and that's normal, and it'll always do that. Okay, so that's just telling us that the baby's wanting to send a signal to the software. The light above it is the green light, that's the charging light. When you plug the baby into the charger, the green light will go solid. Okay. Typically, if the baby is flat, the red light will be out. You plug the charger in, the green light goes solid, and in a short period of time, the red light will start flashing. The green light tells us that the baby is receiving power to charge. The red light flashing means that it's starting to fill up and getting charged. When the charge cycle is complete, the red light goes solid and the green light goes out. When the green light goes out, there's no longer any more charge going into the baby. You can leave that plugged in if you wish for 2 days, but it's not going to put any more charge into the baby. The baby is switched off the current flow. So once that light has gone out, you know that the charging is complete, and we call that a charge cycle. So let's recap that. You plug the baby in, the green light goes on, the red light starts to flash. That's the beginning of the charging cycle. Then the red light will eventually go solid, and then the green light will go out. Once the green light has gone out, that's the end of the charging cycle, and you can unplug the baby. Okay, now the baby typically has a very strong set of batteries on board, but they need to be recharged about every term. The batteries are lithium-ion batteries. They are very robust, but they need to operate and work at their full capacity. They need to be charged every 3 months. So if you set in your diary that even if the baby's not being used, then charge the baby at the beginning of each term, and that way that battery will keep tickled up. Now, if you get to a point where you haven't charged the baby and it's been left for more than 2 terms, 6 months, 12 months, then what's going to happen is that the battery's capacity is going to be diminished. The way to get around that is to do the 3 charge cycle. So you plug the baby in, you see that green light goes solid, you leave it until it goes through the process and the green light goes out, and that's 1 charging cycle. Remove the charger, plug it back in again, and can begin a new charging cycle. Do that for 3 times, and that will bring the baby up to full capacity again. But it's better to charge it regularly during the term. If you leave it, you can fix it by the 3 charging cycle, but it's not as good as giving it a regular charge during the course of its life. If you charge it every 10 weeks or so, at the beginning of each term, you're going to get the maximum amount of life and usage out of those batteries in the baby. In this section of our tutorial, we're going to look at how to add a baby to the Control Center software. So here we go. We're going to open the Control Center software. If you have never added your babies to the computer before, you will see that there's no babies in this software. There are no babies in this Control Center software. Use the top Add button on the left-hand side to introduce. So over here in the baby section, we've got Add. So we're going to click on Add. And here are all the instructions you need to know how to add your baby to the software. Now, if you are looking at your Control Center software help guide, you'll also find this on page 9. Sorry, page 8. Page 8 to activate the baby, page 8. So page 8 of your Control Center software will go through this as well. Once you click the Add section, you can see here, you locate the small recess button in the back of the baby. You use an object such as a paper clip to hold it down for 2 chimes and release before the 3rd, and the yellow light goes solid. Okay, so I'm going to do that now so you can see what I'm talking about. So just straighten out a paper clip here. we're going to pick up the baby, and in the back of the baby, above the lights, you'll see this recessed switch here. And we're just going to gently push that in and hold it for 2 chimes and release it before the 3rd. So I'm pushing it in now. 1, 2, let go. You'll see now how the yellow light has gone solid. That means it's now sending a signal to the baby, to the control center software, to say, here I am, you can find me. When we go back to our control center software, you'll see now that we've added the baby to the software. If we go to available, we've got 1 baby and we've got available 1 baby. So it's as simple as that. Just hold the paper clip into the back of the baby, push it down for 2 chimes, release it before the 3rd. The yellow light goes solid. You go to your control center software, and with your control center software, you make sure you press add, and you'll see the baby come up in the screen there. It says baby added, status baby added. Okay, that's all there is to it. So if you've got 3 babies, you do that to each one of the babies and they'll come up on the screen. And if you've got 3 babies, it'll say available 3. That's how you add your baby to your control center software. Now we're going to have a look at how we set up our control center software to start a demonstration so you can use your babies in the classroom to give your students a good idea of how the baby's going to work. So we're looking at our control center software again. Okay. And we're going to click on the left-hand side. If you've got 1 baby, you can click on the 1. If you've got 3 babies or 5 babies or 10 babies and you want to choose them all, you just hit this checked section up here and that'll select them all. But we've got 1 baby we're working with. We're going to go to demo up here on the top left-hand side underneath all babies. And if we go here available too, you can see available babies, demo. Okay, we've got a choice of coo, feed, burp, nappy, cough, and rock. So we're going to select all of them. Well, what we might do is we might just select one. We might select feeding. We're going to play it continuously. So we're just going to click feeding at this point. So you can choose whatever you want the baby to do. Down here we have a number of presets. Preset 1, preset 2, that changes all the parameters, feeding, burping, rocking, and so on. But we want to go feeding. So we've ticked feeding, and we're going to say that we want 20 minutes gap in between the feed events, and we want it to go for 60 seconds. So we're just going to pump this up to 60 seconds. The event duration, 60 seconds. Okay. Now, when I go to start demo, what's going to happen is you'll hear the baby chime, and that says the signal has gone to the baby to start the demo. So here we go, start demo. Hear the baby chime, and now the baby's going to start to grizzle. You'll hear the baby start to grizzle. Now as the baby starts to grizzle, it'll start to ramp up and get more and more boisterous, but we need to pick our baby up and we need to identify ourselves. Remember how I said earlier, just to hold this ID right on the baby's nappy and you hear that chime. Once we've identified ourselves, we have to work out what the baby needs. We know that it's feeding. Okay, you might be able to hear that gentle suckling sound. The baby now is feeding. If I remove the bottle from the baby's mouth, the baby will start to grizzle again and not be happy. You can hear the baby start to grizzle. Okay, and then we keep feeding. Now this is going to go for 60 seconds because we're in the demonstration mode. So the first thing is the student has to use the ID. Use the ID to identify themselves. Then they can start working out what the baby needs. Now you heard that baby coo. That's because for the demonstration it was only going for 60 seconds and we'd reached the 60-second duration and the baby stopped feeding and it was happy. And so it was happy that we did the right thing. What's going to happen now, I've got this on continuous. What will happen now is this baby will start up again. And there it goes, starts to go. So by that time you can hand it over to other students in the class. Okay, you can see it starting to grizzle again. First thing you've got to do is identify yourself with the ID. Again, let me show you, if you've got the ID and just swipe it around, it's not going to work. Okay, and if the student starts to treat it like a barcode scanner at Woolworths, it's not going to work. You've got to actually hold it on that antenna. So the baby's chimed, and then we feed it. Now, if any time during the simulation the head gets dropped back on the baby accidentally, the baby will start to scream. If you hear this sound in your classroom, then you need to know that the students just need to rock it. So they're going to just rock the baby until it settles down. So rocking, rocking. Might be good if they stand up and rock it. As they rock it, the baby will start to calm down. Takes about 2 minutes. Okay, you hear it start to settle down a bit now. It might have a little bit of a ramp up again. Okay, starting to calm down now. You've got to keep the baby moving. There's sensors in the baby that knows whether it's being rocked or not. And also you've got to be careful to make sure you don't unsupport its head. You can hear it settling down now. So that's all going well. Going well. There you go. When you do this in the classroom for the first time, the students are going to go nuts, and they're all going to go, "Oh no, the baby's crying, the baby's crying." So try to keep it controlled. And the reason I've only done the feeding at this point, so when you're introducing it to the classroom, if you just do the feeding, you'll know exactly what each baby needs. They're all feeding, and if you hear that screaming sound, it's because the head's gone back and they have to rock it and until it calms down. So the two things are: the baby starts to grizzle, pick the ID up, identify himself. Well, the ID will be on the student's wrists. Okay, so identify yourself and then feed the baby. If you hear a screaming sound, like that screaming sound you just heard, that means the baby has had its head dropped back or it's received a physical shock and it needs to be rocked to calm down. If you, in your demonstration while you're doing it, if you do just one event at a time, then you'll be able to have good control of what's going on in the class. So what we're going to do now is go back to our control center software. And we're going to stop this demo. Okay, the baby's chimed, we've stopped the demo, and now I'm going to go through to, let's go to nappy changing. And we might do the same again. Now we might make nappy changing just a little bit longer because sometimes it takes them a while to get the pants off the baby and it can stop before they're finished. So I've gone by 80 seconds here. 80 seconds, I'm going to go start the demo. Baby will chime, okay, and then you'll hear the baby starts to grizzle. So you can hear that sound with the ID on our wrist like the student would have if she was doing a simulation. Hold it there, and now we need to work out. Now it's really important you support the baby's head at all times. So support the head. We're going to take this nappy off. Remember not to lift the baby too high up. So that nappy's off. When we put the new nappy on, be careful not to lift it. Okay, it likes that new nappy. We've got a cooing sound. The baby's happy. And we're going to just strap that back on again. Remember not to lift that too high. If I lift that too high, it could trigger the baby off. It's not going to do it. But 9 times out of 10, when a student does that, that'll make the baby cry. So that's the nappy changing. And we're just going to stop that demo. Stop the demo. Okay. So that's, in a nutshell, is how we operate the demonstration in the classroom. With one important thing to keep track of is that when you're doing the demonstration, the babies have don't need any particular ID. You can use any ID that you've got to do demonstration. They don't have to use the particular ID that is programmed into any of the babies. So it can be a little bit confusing. So in the classroom, you can use any ID and the baby will work. But when you program a baby, the baby really needs to just talk to the ID that is programmed to it. It won't respond to any other ID. It'll only respond to that one ID. Now it's time to program our baby. Now for the first time, we have to make sure that the IDs are programmed into the baby. We're going to go to Available, where our baby is ready for programming. Go up to Program Baby, and you're going to see this screen here. Now see, the first thing is the class. Now in Year 11 Facts, if you look down here under Reports, I've made a folder called Year 11 Facts. if you've got different classes that you want to use, you can come in here and you can change and add a new class. So let's go here. This is our test class. So we're going to put test, hit OK, and you can see down here we now have a folder called test. And what will happen is that all the reports that are classified as test, they will be the ones that go, they'll be filed into the test folder. Student's name, let's go Clarice, the student's name. And here we've got on the right-hand side of student, we've got ID1 and ID2. Really important thing to watch out for now, folks. You'll see that each of the IDs have a number on them. So you can see really poorly in the light there. Let's have a look. I'm holding this. Okay, that has 6A65F, 6A65F. And you can see that that is that ID here. When you get your babies for the first time, there will be no IDs programmed into it. You'll have to program them in. So what I'll do is I'll just quickly show you. When you get your babies for the first time, typically it'll just have 0, 0, 0, 0 in it like that. Okay, so it'll have 0, 0, 0 in it like that. So what we need to do is we need to program the IDs in. So if you go to edit, you pick up your ID and you'll see the number, unique number on this one is, let's have a look here, 6A6BE, 6A6BE. So I'm just going to type in 6A6BE, okay, and that we got that in as ID1 and ID2. Now, if you've only got a basic baby, you'll only have one ID. If you have a non-basic baby that is temperature sensitive with the 3 lots of clothing, you'll have 2 IDs. So here we go with the second one, and it's 6A65F, and I'm going to edit 6A65F, 6A65, whoops, 5F. And okay, so they're the 2 IDs in. Now, you'll notice we've got our African American girl. You can edit any of these sections and make a name for your girl there. You can put in the female and the gender, African American. Now, before I do anything else, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go up here to done. Now, if you've got 3 babies and you've got the 3 babies ticked, you'll have next, and you'll click next and you'll go to the next baby until you get to the end of your babies, and then you'll find done is highlighted. So we've only got 1 baby. We're going to go done, highlighted, and now I'm going to go here to send to baby, send to baby. The reason I'm doing that is I want to program these IDs in. So I'm going to go to send to baby. The baby will chime. Okay. Now you'll see that what's happened is I've actually sent a program to the baby. So it's moved out of the available section here on the left-hand side and gone to the active section. So we've now got an active baby. There she is in the active babies column. And what we want to do is stop that session. So I'm stopping that because we only wanted to start it so we could get those IDs programmed into it. So now that I've clicked stop, she's moved into report due. And now down here, the pod went yellow and it's sent the report into the test folder. So if we go to the test folder, we can see there's 1 report in there now for Clarice. And she's gone out of active and up into available again. So now, if we're going to program the baby for a simulation, we go to program baby, we check that our IDs are the correct IDs, ID1 and ID2. Again, you'll only have 1 if you have a basic baby. And the basic baby is the one without the temperature sensitive equipment. So you've got ID1 and ID2, and we're going to do a simulation now. So we're going to, again for Clarice, let's give Clarice her baby, we're going to call Magda. Now your students can call their baby any name whatsoever, okay, Magda. Now it's going to start on today, which is Monday the 9th of November, and I'm going to start it for when they are probably at home, so 4 p.m. And we're going to set it for the 3 days, so let's pretend it's a weekend, and it'll come back on the 13th, and we wanted to stop on the 13th at, say, 6 a.m. Now, the schedule orders, these numbers here represent a different baby. Now, let me explain this. The 3, your babies have 15 real babies daily schedules programmed into it. So they've got parents to keep diaries on when their babies woke, slept, nappy, changed, rocked and fed. And here we've got baby 9, baby 1, baby 2, baby 3. And so this is the first day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day. And they're going to have baby 9. So that's the parents for that baby on that day. Then 1, 2, 13, and 12. If we click on Schedule Helper, you can see here day 1, day 2, right through to day 5. And you can see we've got it's on a random selection, baby 1 through to 15. Now, they've been broken into different categories. We've got an easy mix, a medium mix, or a hard mix. If you click on a hard mix, you'll see the numbers will change. So day 1 through to day 5 will change. So hard mix, now we've got 4, 6, 8. Well, you can't see this. Give me a second. Okay. So when we click on Schedule Helper, you get to see the Schedule Helper window. You can see that we have a random, and you've got 1 to 15. And that's babies 1 to 15. Remember those 15 schedules I was telling you about? That's those 15 schedules there. And the baby will randomly pick for 1 day to 5, randomly pick one of those days. So that's 8, day 11, baby 11, baby 8, baby 11, baby 7, baby 8, baby 5. Now, they're also set up into different mixes. So we've got an easy mix, a medium mix, or a hard mix. So if I click on a hard mix, you see the numbers change. Day 1 is now an 8. Day 1 is a 1, an 8, a 5, a 6, and a 4. So a random mix is good. Now, you'll notice that day 1 is baby 11. That's an easy one up here. Day 2 is a baby 8. That's a hard baby, baby 8. Day 3 is a baby 6. That's a hard baby. Day 4 is a baby 7, that's a medium baby, and then day 5 is a baby 15, which is an easy baby. So it's up to you what you choose there. Generally, we just go for random. If they've got it over 3 nights and they've got a mixture of different babies, that works well. So we've got a random lot of babies. So down here we've got quiet times. So quiet times is if your student is working at Woolworths and has a shift, you'll say, Miss, I'm at on November the 10th, I'm working at Woolworths. I'm starting at 5 p.m. and I'm working for 4 hours. So there's a number of those you can have in there. Look, some schools use these to give the students a break during the night. So they'll have it so that they'll put in a quiet time that starts at 10 p.m. and goes through for 8 hours and lets the baby sleep during the night. I don't see the logic behind that. If you're going to have these babies and invest in them, then the babies need to be allowed to do what babies do. So they need to be able to go through their normal routine. The students only have them for 3 nights. So the students only have them for 3 nights. So to give them big breaks during that time is giving them a skewed picture of what it means to be a parent. Okay, so I would really recommend not using those quiet times to give the students a break overnight. They're only there for when they're either doing sporting events or they're working or they've got an exam or whatever. So to use it as a way to make the simulation easier for students, I think is anti-productive. Okay, so we'll go back to the screen. Okay, once we've got all this in, we've got the class that the folder reports are going to be filed into the student's name, and then we've got the baby's name. And again, this is the African American girl. We filled that stuff in earlier when we put the IDs in. But also make sure you check those ID numbers, that they are the ones that are being issued with this baby. If the IDs get mixed up, then the baby is going to not respond and it's going to be difficult. Once we've done all this, we're going to go to Done. We're going to go to Send to Baby. The baby will shine. Okay, and it's ready to go. So you can see now that if we go back to active, this baby is going to start at 4 p.m. today and finish at 6 a.m. in 3 days' time. Okay, and it's all ready to go. So you can issue that baby now with the IDs and the other gear, and away it'll go. You'll see it's moved down here into the active section. Okay, and also once you've done this, you can click up to birth certificates. So before the student goes home, you can click on birth certificates, and you can print a birth certificate for the student. So you click up the top, you click birth certificates, and it's going to send a report to the printer, and it'll print off the birth certificate for that particular baby. So here it goes. It's called up my printer. I'm going to print that off. And once it's finished printing, I'll go and grab it and we'll have a look at what that says. Here's a copy of the birth certificate. It has the student's name, the baby's name, and the birth weight and birth certificate, and you can sign that delivered by and send that home with the student. Quite a nice touch. The final thing we're going to look at before we finish this session is at our online help services. So if we go to, I'll just quickly show you here from the screen. Okay, so we're going to look at our RealCare Service Centre. Okay, so RealCare Self-Service Centre is where you can go in and be presented with a whole heap of yes and no question scenarios, and you can start to work out what's happening with your baby. So you can solve a lot of your own issues quickly. If you can't find a solution in the control centre and in the RealCare Baby control, I'll say that again. If you can't find a solution in the RealCare Baby Self-Service Centre, then it'll give you an option to book a support call with us. So first of all, try the support centre, and if you can't find a solution to your problem, then you can then go to the, you can get an option to book in a support call. So you go to our website. Here's our website, virtualparenting.com.au. On the left-hand side, we have online services where we have our self-service centre, demonstrations, online training, and to book a support call. If you click on that, you'll see the first section up here is people who want to know more about our babies before they purchase. This is a section here, free online training, is talking about our webinars, and basically this webinar that you are looking at now is exactly the same as what we are covering today. And down here, need help with your RealCare baby, click here for the RealCare Self-Service Centre. So click here. And you'll see here on this page, I've already filled in the details. So first of all, make sure that you don't have the discontinued models. If you look at these pictures here, these are the old babies. This is a Generation 4, Generation 5 baby, Generation 6 baby, and a beginner care baby. These babies and RealCare 2 baby, these aren't covered by this self-service centre. The self-service centre looks at the RealCare 2 Plus baby and the RealCare 3 baby. So fill in your details and hit login. And it'll take you to our self-service centre. So here's the self-service centre. Congratulations, you've signed into our RealCare self-service centre. Take a moment to read the instructions. This is only for RealCare 2 Plus and for RealCare 3 babies. If you had previous models, click here and you can get a support call. So basically, if you look at this, ID not working, student ID is not working. What do? Click on that. It's working sometimes, it's not working at all. Okay, so if you click into not working at all and you go, each of those scenarios have some options for you. There's a little video there to talk about how to know it's programmed. Go back again. So once you go through each one of these, if you don't find your answers, you'll eventually get to a point where you can book in for a support call. So you'll find that you can navigate through many of the issues that are involved with your baby by yourself through the support service centre, and you can answer your own issues. If not, then my issue is not listed here. Click on there. Issue is not listed here. If the issue you're experiencing isn't described, then click here and we'll book in. And you'll see it opens up a window here that allows you to book a support call with us. So book an appointment for a product support call down here. So there you have it. That's our Baby Basics webinar. Thanks for tuning in and having listened. Virtual parenting is available on 0266518138. You can download all your information you need from our download portal that I showed you previously, and also you can go to our online services and use the self-help RealCare self-service centre. So thanks again. I hope it was useful and I hope it all goes well. Thank you.